Welcome to episode 21. Welcome to our Fit and Strong Women Over 50 podcast for the Becoming Elli community. I'm Chris.
And I'm Jill. Welcome to our community of women. We invite you to subscribe to our podcast and our private Facebook group so we can encourage each other to stay fit and strong as we age.
If this is your first time with us, you may be wondering about Elli. Well, she's the Norse goddess of aging who surprised everyone when she beat Thor in a wrestling match. Now, just to be clear, we don't expect our community to do a lot of wrestling.
No, actually, we're more about building strength to help stay healthy and fit as we enjoy the second half of our lives. Hey, I'd like to give a shout out to Letitia, who left a review for our podcast on the Podcast Republic app. So there are different apps for listening to podcasts, and Podcast Republic is one of them. So Letitia said, "Excellent, informative, well-spoken, using facts and sound advice, as well as first-person accounts. These women are what I want to grow up to be. I am 57 and working at Becoming Elli." Thanks, Letitia. That's a great review. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, during our podcasts, we talk with various experts and interview other women who are also working to be fit and strong. And we found that hearing other people's ideas and stories really helps us to encourage and to inspire each other.
Our guest today, Marsha Friedman, shares some excellent techniques to cope with holiday stress. Marsha has a broad range of business experience from finance to customer service and from operations to organizational development. She is currently a leadership and personal development coach who is passionate about guiding individuals to their full potential. As a coach, she helps her clients find the spark to ignite their own fires.
Marsha is also a devoted mother and stepmother of 4 and a grandmother of 9. Marsha works out 6 days a week at Planet Fitness, alternating between aerobics and weight training. Her goal is to keep those grandma arms, you know, the loose skin that dangles from the triceps, to keep those grandma arms at bay permanently.
As someone who has dealt with a variety of challenges over the years, Marsha has the grit and determination not to let anything stop her. Because she has rebuilt her credit, rekindled her spiritual life, raised successful, independent children, reestablished her career, and reclaimed love again and again, she is known as the comeback queen.
Please join us as we welcome Marsha Friedman.
So, welcome to the podcast, Marsha Friedman. We're excited to talk with you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thanks for coming. Yeah.
My pleasure.
Our podcast for the Becoming Elli community, where women who are working to become fit and strong, has really grown over the last year. And so I'd like to begin by, Marsha, having you give us a little background about yourself and why the women over 50 are especially eager to hear what you have to say to us today.
I'm one of you, and I have been there and done that. One of the names that I give myself is the comeback queen because I have done all the different things, put up with all the drama in life, bankruptcy, divorce, single parenthood, illness, all of it. And I think it makes me well qualified, that plus my 40 years in the corporate environment and working with leaders and individuals and helping everyone get to their full potential puts me in the position where I really come at this from a position of knowledge, both internally myself and with helping other people.
That's great. So if we're talking about stress, there's relationships bring a lot of stress. Is there family, friends? What kind of stress do those relationships bring to people?
During the holidays?
Well, during the holidays or anytime, I suppose, but holidays probably bring additional stress. So let's talk about that.
They bring out the best/worst in people.
Yeah, they do. And I think with the holidays in particular, you've got family that's together for the holidays, And there may be things going on in the background. You may have had a disagreement or conflict with someone in the family that's not resolved. And you're back together at the holidays and it's on your mind and impacting your emotions and gets you all anxious before you even get together with those relatives. You may have some relatives that come visit during the holidays that eat too much or drink too much, and you know ahead of time what's coming. And again, your anxiety level before you ever get together with them can become very high. So there's a lot of stress that comes just from that. Then there's also the stresses of just preparing for the holidays. I know for myself, in years past, my family celebrates Hanukkah, and my family loves my latkes. And they don't want just any latkes. They want my latkes, which means that I am working for hours and hours in the kitchen. I can go through a whole 10-pound bag of potatoes making potato latkes all day long. But then they also want sweet potato latkes. And then they want my brisket. And then they want my carrot souffle. And just thinking about that, just talking about it makes my head want to explode. So my solution for that over the years has become that I'll make the latkes, but someone goes to Sam's Club and buys the chicken, and I steam a bag of green beans, and there's dinner. I'm not doing it all myself. Someone else brings desserts. So it limits the stress that's on me.
That's a good plan. Food preparation. What is it about food and stress? We do that a lot when we have holidays. We all have these dishes that we're known for, or who's going to make mom's sweet potato casserole or whatever. Why is that?
Well, I think there's two parts to that. One part is that we want to have the continuity of the memories of the past. So we want to have mom's sweet potato casserole. We want to have, like, my family loves my carrot souffle whenever they're together. We want to have those taste memories that we've had for years and that we want to pass along in the family. At the same time, we feel the stress of having to prepare in exactly the same way, exactly the same dishes over and over. So I think we also put upon ourselves that what I call perfection, that we want to have exactly what we had in the past, and we want to have it prepared in exactly the same way, and to the level of specification or the level of perfection that someone else did it. And that adds something, that puts the monkey on our shoulders.
That really adds anxiety, doesn't it? I'm feeling anxious because I can relate to that so much.
Well, so thinking about it, I mean, given that women over 50, many of us have families, elderly relatives who have passed away, and it is amazing how for many families trying to figure out who is going to make the dishes that somebody who's no longer here used to make, that really becomes an issue for many.
Sure it does. And I think not only just making those dishes, but also how about hosting? Who's going to host? Because if that relative who's no longer around had a larger home and could easily host, now who's going to host? And it could be, I know from my own family, my great aunt taught me how to set a table properly.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a little bit fussy about that. Not as fanatic as some other people, but a little fussy about that. But if you had someone in your family who set the most gorgeous, beautiful holiday table, and you can't live up to that level of expectation, or you feel you can't, there's another piece that adds additional stress to you.
Oh, right. So the table, but also all the preparation. So talking about preparation of food, but preparing to be the person to host a holiday, particularly, so like for me, my family is not local. Everyone, when I have hosted holidays, people have had to come in from out of town, which means I'm not hosting them for an afternoon. I'm hosting them for days. And so there's which it has its own stress. I mean, it's nice to be able to do that, but just, cleaning your house so that you can have multiple people stay in it for extended period of time is a lot of work, and it gets stressful.
Well, not only the cleaning beforehand, but while they're there.
Oh, right.
Mm-hmm.
While they're there are different levels of guests. I've had some guests who maintain their space really nicely and keep it clean. And I've had other guests who leave the place just in a wild mess. And it makes it hard to have them visit. I know my mother of blessed memory, when she used to come for the holidays, would get up as many elderly people do. She didn't sleep a lot. So when I got up in the morning, and I'm a very early riser, and I had exercise equipment in my house, and I wanted to go to my lower level to work out because that's my quiet time. My mom was already up and in my face and wanted to talk to me. So even that level, I loved seeing my mother, and it was important to have her there, but I wanted my quiet time. And finding that alone time or that quiet time when you have a house full of guests is a challenge.
Well, I know just trying to manage my own expectations of what the holidays might be, as well as trying to manage maybe other people's expectations of what I'm supposed to do to make their holiday great. That adds a lot of stress.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I don't know how to manage expectations year over year, because it almost feels like whenever you have a really good experience, you know, 1 year or a few years back, you want to repeat that somehow, but you can't quite capture it the same way. And, you know, so there's sort of the Christmas past or the Thanksgiving's past, and then you keep looking at the future, trying to, whether it's the recipes or just conversations, I don't know. But there's got to be ways, and I'm sure you know what they are, on how to either manage expectations or to de-stress some of this anxiety that comes around the holidays.
Yeah, I think I'm going to talk about 4 really important ways to reduce stress.
Okay.
So the first one is deciding how during the holidays you're going to take care of yourself, because you do need to have that time to focus on self-care. And how are you going to give yourself that gift of alone time? So do you get to have time out to go have a mani-pedi or a massage or meditate, journal, read, something that gives you a little bit of alone time? Might be also staying active, maintaining your regular physical fitness routine, whatever that is. You know, I get up every single morning, 6 days a week, and I go to the gym. Trust me, during the holidays, I'm still going to be getting up, even if there's people in my house, going to the gym. And then the other piece that supports you is continuing to eat right. Focus on that healthy eating, but allow yourself some small indulgences. And I think the other piece when you have people in your home is, or when you're going to a lot of parties, is limit your intake of things like caffeine and chocolate and alcohol, because all of those can be disruptive to your sleep patterns. And if you need a power nap, go take a power nap.
Yeah.
So I think that's the first place, is starting with ourselves. So because if you can keep yourself healthy and keep your energy up, then you have energy for hosting other people and really enjoying the holidays with them.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. Now, my second tip really is embracing the emotion, because as we've been talking earlier, we're all anxious and overwhelmed, and we haven't done anything yet, right? You know, so thinking about things like figuring out what gifts to buy makes me break out in a sweat. Okay. So how do you deal with all those emotions up front before the holidays even start? And so that if you can start thinking about that now and recognizing that there's a real tie between the way we think, because our thinking determines our feelings, and our feelings influence our behaviors. And guess what? Our behaviors reinforce those feelings. So you're in a loop there. And we really need to pay attention to what our thoughts patterns are, because that really pushes our feelings. So if you can find a safe place to open up and talk, you might have a coach or a confidant or a counselor you can talk to. Reading, prayer, meditation, journaling. If you're really in an emotional mood, one of the things I like to do is watch some kind of a movie. Scary, sad, funny, whatever hits my mood, so that I can really work through those emotions. And my absolute ultimate favorite, this is me, is getting my head into some music. Music for me can change my entire mood. and help me deal with settling down and the emotions that are coming.
Yeah. What's your favorite kind of music?
Can I answer? It depends.
Sure.
Sure.
I have a very long playlist of different stations on my Spotify and different albums that I've downloaded. So sometimes it could be a Broadway album. Sometimes it might be a Joni Mitchell station. Sometimes it could be a John Mayer station. Sometimes it's Tracy Chapman. It just depends on what kind of mood I'm in. In fact, right before this call, I was listening to Enya. So I listen to all different things.
I was
Nice.
thinking you could put on some lively dance music and get your exercise in too by dancing around to lively music.
Absolutely. Yeah, get physical.
The music is a good one because that's a very easy thing to do. If you like holiday music, particularly if you like the huge amount of Christmas music, there's a tremendous amount of music you can listen to at this time of year.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that puts you in the
Yes,
mood.
It does.
Right. And I think when I'm trying to clean the house and I start out feeling kind of martyred or woe is me, how come nobody else is picking up? If I crank the music on Pandora or what have you, with headphones especially, I don't mind a bit because I'm like running around the house cleaning and it's done before I even realize it. So I really can connect with that music tip as well. That's great.
Yeah. Now, my next tip is really, I think, important as we were talking about all the things you have to do for the holidays, the cleaning, the menu planning, the shopping, the baking, the decorating, the gift wrapping, and more. This is really critical. Ask for and accept help.
Yeah. So that is,
That's easier said than done, isn't it?
It is so easy to fall into that martyr syndrome of, so just like what you were saying, Chris, I'm the only one who's cleaning the house. So when you have company in the house, I'm the only one who's washing dishes. I'm the only one who's doing this. But you know what? How many times do people say, do you need any help? And I'll say,
yeah. And then
no.
Why does it automatically come out of my help? Oh, no, I'll take care of these in the morning. Don't worry about it. Why is that whole routine going on in my head or coming out of my mouth? Marsha, you probably can explain better than, I don't know.
Yeah, explain us to ourselves.
Yeah, why do I do that?
Because I think you have to recognize that you're doing that.
I guess so.
And you have to make a decision now that you're not going to do that this year, that you're going to listen for those cues. But even better than that, I say divide up the chores. Do it now. Hold a family meeting.
Yes.
Because there's so much to do. Hold that family meeting, whether it's the people who are in your immediate family at home or it's your extended family. Figure out who's got the skills or who can make that dessert just as well as you can and divide and conquer. I think the other thing we need to be willing to do when you're talking about cleaning your house is hire help, honey. You can hire cleaning services, even if it's just a one time. You can hire servers to help with meals. I've done that before. There are some high schools that have servers that you can hire at a real inexpensive rate. And they'll be there to serve, and they come with their little white shirts and black pants, and they serve for you, and they clear for you, and they clean up for you, the best. And it's a minimal cost. How about using an online shopping service to get your groceries?
Right. That they're all over the place now.
That's right, and more every day. And what about preparing part but not all the meal? As I was talking about earlier about my Hanukkah latke story, I'm sure that's true with many of us. Don't be uncomfortable deciding what you're going to prepare and what you'll buy or ask other people to bring. You create the menu and then ask your guests to bring a dish. I bet every one of them would love to bring something to help with the meal. You'd be amazed. Yes. Plus, even if you don't ask them, they might bring something anyway, and it could be that fruitcake you don't want.
Right. Well, you're right, because when I've gone to other relatives' houses for Thanksgiving or Christmas or what have you, if they don't want me to bring something, I don't feel as much a part of it. I mean, that's part of it is contributing.
Right. And we all feel good when we have that opportunity to contribute. So I have one other idea on this area of ask for and accept help is, what about getting your gifts gift wrapped at the mall?
Oh, yes, that's a wonderful tip.
Yeah, because there's charities that are raising money for other people. So you're kind of double dipping here. It's charity groups that are raising money and you get this chore off your list and you're helping other people. Yahoo!
I went a year or two ago to I think a Barnes and Noble, and so my big present for people is often books, and I bought I don't know probably 20 different books and things at the Barnes and Noble, and they had these high school girls were wrapping presents. One of the mothers was supervising, and I came over with all of these books, and they wrapped them all for me. I made a nice donation to whatever the group was, but it was sort of funny because their mother was supervising them a little more closely than I might have thought was necessary because she was being a little critical of them. But
well, she probably didn't want someone to be disappointed that the corners weren't straight or something.
It was funny. I had a good time watching because they were it was actually, so not only did I get all the presents wrapped that I bought there, and I made the contribution to whatever the organization was, but I also had the sort of enjoyable thing of hanging out for 15 minutes with two teenage girls who weren't related to me in any way and who were very pleasant, and I just enjoyed it tremendously. I have to say it was the best part of the whole shopping trip.
Yeah, and a win-win.
Yeah. So that's an excellent tip. But in the malls, they do have, so I was in one store where they had the gift wrap, but if you're in the mall, they often have them in the center where you could, no matter where you're shopping, you don't have to have a gift wrap in the store that you're in. You can take from multiple stores have them wrapped. That's a good, something to remember.
Yeah. If you do it in the store, you're getting the store's gift wrap. You're not getting a charitable contribution or giving a charitable contribution, whereas in the center of the mall, that's some charity organization that's set up there.
Right.
That I think is really, that's the one that I look for.
Right.
And probably the best thing is you don't have that big chore of wrapping that tends to hurt your back after a while. Because I don't know about you guys, but if you pile everything on the table and start wrapping, it's just low enough that it hurts your back, because you're standing there for so long. So
Absolutely.
Great idea. And
great idea.
A time drain too. So if you've got a house full of people and suddenly you're having to wrap presents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and the other, this is kind of a big category, but we started talking a little earlier about expectations. So this is really where I talk about getting clear on how you're going to handle various situations. So as you think through the holidays, there are 4 categories that I would recommend that you spend some time making decisions and figuring out how you're going to handle these and avoid various triggers, whether they're emotional triggers or they're food triggers, whatever they are. So the first category I have is food. So this is where I say, so take a small portion of that holiday food and give yourself permission to indulge in it. Savor every bite, eat it slowly. And if you're going to a party, eat before you go. Eat a little something so you don't go ravenously hungry and you're going to eat everything in sight that really isn't going to fit whatever your healthy eating plan is.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's great.
And then in the second area is family. We talked about this a little bit before, but I say family is show gratitude just for having the family together, and then try and find humor in the situation. You might have family or friends who are no longer with us, and make sure you share the stories and the memories of those people, because that's the best way we can honor them even though they're not with us.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I like to do, and this is finding the humor in a family situation. If you start feeling anxious, why don't you pretend like you're somebody on the outside, like a newcomer to your family, and try and take in the whole experience of being in that room as if you weren't related.
Kind of detach and
Exactly.
get outside of yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
I try to do that sometimes, not to take myself quite so seriously, because sometimes I get so serious and I don't know quite why. Yeah.
Well, and sometimes there are some people, I know this was true in my family, there are some people that before they ever walk in the door, I'm frustrated or anxious or some other negative emotion has come up for me before they even set foot in the room.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that's on me. That's not on them, because I own my own reactions. So I can do 2 things there. One is make a decision not to react, to try and hold that back, let bygones be bygones, work out conflicts another time. And I can also try and minimize the amount of time that I'm with that negative or difficult relative.
Yeah. Right.
I would guess you could also decide that this year you're doing your holidays differently.
Yes, you could decide that.
We're all going to Disney.
Yes, you can decide not to continue the family tradition of getting everyone together and go have your holiday elsewhere. And there are lots of people who do that. That works.
Mm-hmm.
You can change who's on your guest list. I have some issues with some of the folks in my family and tend to spend more of my time with the family who I have that are friends.
Yeah.
Right.
Fitness is the next one. So I think you need to decide in advance how often you're going to work out during your holidays. So maybe I'm not going to get there all 6 days a week I normally do, but I'd like to at least maintain 3 days a week. Whatever it is that I decide in advance keeps me still on track. The other thing that I like to talk about is making physical activity part of your event. So if you have your family there and you've all had this big meal together, how about taking a hike or a walk after that meal?
Right.
Or if there's children involved, how about play hide and seek or play tag or play charades? Just get up and get moving. We talked about music before and dancing. How about have a dance contest? Or even better, take the whole family out dancing.
Oh, wow.
How
I
about
wouldn't have thought of that. That sounds really fun, actually.
I'm always looking for fun. So yeah, what about adding more than just the meal? You know, when you're getting together with family, how about some card games or board games or a new family tradition?
Mm-hmm.
How about movie night? Especially, you know, these families where you're together for more than just the meal and you have them staying in your house. How about having a movie night or a poker tournament or watching sporting events together?
Right.
You know, create some kind of event that everyone can participate in.
You could even watch old movies, the DVD that you've transferred from your VCR into your DVDs or what have you.
Or everybody bring family pictures. Maybe you do a family picture exchange.
You know, that's a neat idea.
Yeah, that is actually a good idea.
Yeah. And again, that's a way of remembering those people who are no longer with us. A good way to bring out those stories and memories.
Yeah. You know what? Even if you just had everyone has holiday pictures. You may, that's the one time of year when everyone takes pictures. So even if you just had everyone bring their favorite holiday photo.
Or what about that worst gift you ever got or ugly sweater contest?
Unless I was the one that gave you that sweater, then I'll be very offended.
I made that sweater and I knitted my fingers to the bone to make it. And now you want to win an ugly sweater contest. That would add some stress.
Well, maybe you have people go to Goodwill and get the ugly sweater.
There you go. That's right.
As opposed to one from their closet.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Okay, so my other category here is finances.
Oh, that's a good one.
So we've had food, family, fitness. This one's finances, all the 4 F's.
Yes.
So finances, we talked earlier about going out and finding the perfect gift, but what the other part of not just finding the perfect gift is the anxiety you might have about spending too much money. So here's where you have to do some budgeting. You've got to create that budget ahead of time, figure out whatever that number is that you're going to spend, and then you have to make a strong commitment to stick to that budget. And I will also say there are ways to be creative in gift giving. So you can make donations to charity. There's lots of homemade gifts. Maybe it's that homemade sweater. Could be putting together a recipe for somebody. Could be a recipe book. I know when my kids were going off to college, they wanted to have my recipes. Mm-hmm. And so I created a file in Word of their favorite recipes. And for several years while they were in college and a few years afterwards, before they actually before they got married and had their own families, they would ask me to add additional recipes to that. So there's an idea for a gift. That's
a really great idea.
Yeah, and easy to do.
Yeah. And inexpensive. Just time, but you have to put time in. And I'll bet you had the carrot souffle in there and the latke.
Yes.
Absolutely. And my challah recipe is in there. And how about when we're talking about families, how about family gift exchange? So in other words, you're not buying for
Mm.
everybody. You're buying for certain members of the family. Kind of maybe do that at Thanksgiving where you pick out who's going to buy for whom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or gifts for an entire family, like some of those board games or things like that, work for an entire family as opposed to each individual member of the family.
Right.
And then
Right.
more, so I used this one last year. This one is a superb idea, I have to say. I have granddaughters who are 7 and 8. And last year for Hanukkah, my daughter wanted me to buy them the kids' versions of Fitbits. Well,
Okay.
I didn't want to spend the money that she wanted me to spend because I buy them gifts for every night of Hanukkah.
Ah, right.
They get gifts all 8 nights.
Yeah.
And instead of that, I was inspired last year to create coupon books for them.
Oh.
So the coupon books do 2 things. Number one, it gives them the power all year long to receive a gift of their choosing at the time that they want it, but it also then spreads the expense out. So let me give you an example. So for the girls, I gave them each a coupon book that had 2 sleepovers. It had a cooking lesson. It had a shopping spree limited to $15. It had dinner out and a couple of other items that, again, I would have done for them throughout the year. But this way, it was much more special for them because they got to choose when they would have received the gift. And it was a gift that they got all year long.
That's really special. That's nice.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think I'm going to do this year?
Another coupon book?
The coupon book.
Yeah, easily.
And
Nice.
and they enjoyed it.
They loved it. The first thing they wanted to redeem was the cooking lesson. And they both wanted different cooking lessons.
Oh, that's
Well,
fun. Time together.
Well, what I was thinking was in them each having their own, that also possibly gives them one-on-one time with you. So if one granddaughter says, I want my cooking lesson, and the other one isn't quite ready, you could have a cooking lesson with.
I did.
Which is,
that's exactly what
I think
we did.
that is invaluable for children to have, especially, so my sister and I were very close in age like that. And you do tend to get bundled up together into just about everything. And
Right.
the times when an adult would take one of us separately to something or do something, really, I remember it. It's that's a powerful gift for a child.
Absolutely.
So that's a great idea.
That-
And inexpensive because you're right. It moves the cost throughout, so you're not paying for it all in one week.
Yeah. And you could use the same concept with anybody in your family.
Right.
I happen to do it with my granddaughters, but you could do this with anyone in your family with different types of gifts.
Right.
I really like that idea. That's great.
Well, and there are things, so even like saying a shopping spree. So it's not like, so, kids like to make coupon books where it's, you get one hug or whatever, which is nice. But for, you're actually giving something, it's not just the intangible things. You're actually, there are real, because some of us are a little more, we like our presents.
Well, with my granddaughters, they're getting 7 other gifts besides the coupon
Right.
book.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, it gives them the opportunity to have gifts and gifts in terms of experience and time with me
Right.
throughout the whole year. And that I think is really the important message, is that the gift doesn't have to be some toy or some game or some tangible item.
Right.
It can be that gift of ourselves. And I think that's what gets lost too many times in the marketing, especially to children over the holidays.
Right. I know I had friends who they would get as a present from the grandparents a family membership to something, whether it was to the zoo or the children's museum or something, so that the family could go multiple times throughout the year with this membership. And so it's a nice gift, and it's a group gift, and it's something that they can use all year long.
And it's the gift of time with, the relationship of the family to kind of build it when it's not such an intense time of the holidays. It's less stressful when it's in the middle of winter or, in the spring or something when, you're a little more bored and you want to do something together. That's a neat idea too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. My daughter and her husband have a family membership to the zoo, and I often have the opportunity to take the kids to the zoo or go with them. And it is something that all year long you get to use and enjoy.
So there is something we haven't discussed in all of this, which is work and people, being employed during the holidays and coworkers and time off and trying to get time
And
off or
and
whatever.
deadlines.
Yeah.
Deadlines always seem to crop up for me during the holidays.
I think from some of the things that we've talked about already, because if you're taking care of yourself and you're doing the things you need to do for yourself, that puts less pressure on you to take time off, because if you have other people helping you out to do the shopping, to do the cooking, to do the cleaning, or taking advantages of those services, that minimizes the amount of time that you may need to take off from work. The other thing that I have done in the past when I was working full time was to save up some vacation time to be able to take to prepare for the holidays, because I knew that was often something that I needed to do.
Right.
The other thing is just working with coworkers to balance out what needs to be done. Is there someone else who can help you with the project? I mean, this is where I say when we talk about ask for and accept help, is this a place where you can reach out and get some assistance and really raise your hand and say, I need someone else to help me with this project? Because oftentimes in the workplace, we don't do that because it's my job and it's my work and it's my whatever.
Right.
And we don't always reach out in ways that we could be supported.
True.
Yeah, that's an important thing for coping with stress, particularly during the holidays.
And I think this is another point that I was going to bring up, and this may also have some impact in the workplace, and that is, I say, give perfection the heave-ho and set realistic expectations. So get the word should out of your vocabulary and recognize when you're holding yourself accountable for a should that's out there. And maybe the same thing holds true when you're working on a project. Does your project need to be perfect, or does it need to be good? So whose standards are you trying to live up to? And oftentimes we tend to turn ourselves into perfectionists, which puts more pressure on us for reaching those deadlines or getting something accomplished.
Yes, I think that's true, not only in terms of the gifts or the events or how the house would be being the hostess, but also just in terms of what we eat, how much we exercise, trying to maintain that idea of staying healthy and, on track with all of our goals and objectives that we've been working on all year.
Mm-hmm. But again, I think some of that creeps into the way we approach our work as well.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So if we have prepared in these ways that you've suggested, and now we're in full force holiday mode, and we are starting to feel that stress, do you have any tips on how to bring yourself back to your plan, or what do you do?
I think the first thing is recognize what you're feeling. I think that's half the battle, because if you can recognize those feelings, then you can also look at what's causing them and go back to that whole section on self-care. So what can you do? Is it go do a workout? Is it listen to some music? What can you do to take care of yourself when that stress or that anxiety is starting to build up and you need to pull it back down? Figure out where it's coming from, because I think that's always the starting point, is when you start to feel your shoulders tighten or your back tense up, there's something going on. So you need to pay attention to those physical cues that you're getting before they get out of control, because you don't want the cortisol in your system to build up so that your alarm is on all the time and you start to become anxious and depressed and overwhelmed and have a headache. You really want to be able to control that before it gets out of control.
Right. Yeah. So when you are able to reduce stress, how does that make a difference in your health and your well-being? I mean, you've worked with people enough to know the before and after. What does the after look like if people will, if women over 50 are able to embrace, the self-care, the embracing their emotions and asking for help and let's see, what was number 4? I've already forgotten it.
4Fs. The 4Fs.
The 4Fs. Yeah. How do you handle expectations to avoid the triggers? Let's say we're able to do that. Can you kind of paint the picture of what it's going to look like when we do all this?
We're gonna have the best holiday ever.
Okay. Well, no, I mean, the picture that I have in my head is a holiday that's filled with family, fun, friends, and most of all joy.
Yeah.
That's the picture that I have in my head, because you can let go of the little things. I like to say that you got to figure out what you can control and what you can't.
Mm-hmm.
I can control the light bulb on my front porch, but I can't control the weather. So if you can learn to let go of those things you can't control, and you can learn to pay attention to what's going on in your body and figure out where the self-sabotage is, or where you need help, or where you might get off track, and pull yourself back with those positive, healthy habits you already have in place,
mm-hmm.
you are going to have a much better holiday season.
Beautiful. Thank you. Beautiful.
My pleasure.
Yeah, that was really very helpful. So, Marsha, if our listeners would like to reach out to you or find more information about you and holiday stress, where would they go and what might they look for?
My website, which is it's www.consultmef/holiday stress. I've created a landing page specifically about holiday stress, and on there you'll find my 4 tips for reducing holiday stress, a downloadable holiday self-care checklist, so you can kind of see where you are right now and rate yourself, and I give you a score sheet that goes along with this.
Oh, very good.
Oh, yeah.
For those of us who are more analytical types.
Everyone loves a quiz.
Even if you're not an analytical type, this just gives you an opportunity right now before the holidays start to look at some of the things that relate to what we've talked about in terms of areas where you might have holiday stress, and some things that you might be able to put in place now so that you can make the changes that we've talked about. Now, the other thing that I have on that webpage is the opportunity to have a 30-minute complimentary coaching session with me if you want to talk about your holiday stress self-care checklist and you want some help with that. I'm offering a complimentary 30-minute coaching session. Again, that's www.consultmef/holiday stress.
Wow, that's great. Thank you. That's very nice of you to offer that.
Yes, thank you so much, Marsha. That was wonderful. I really love all these tips, and I can feel my anxiety is much lower because I feel like I can handle things now. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. It has been my pleasure, and I just want to say thank you to Chris, you, and Jill for hosting me on your Becoming Elli podcast.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm so glad you could join us, and if I don't talk to you before then, have happy holidays.
And to you both also.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Wow, that was just what I needed to hear. I keep thinking about the different ideas she shared. I really liked the idea of hiring help, not only for cleaning your house, but for serving food or do some of the hands-on kind of things that you need at the holidays.
Yeah, I really love the idea of sharing recipes. Marsha gave me a great idea for a Christmas gift, and hopefully my 3 sisters are not listening to today's podcast, or they might have a pretty good idea, a clue of what I'm going to put together for my gift to them this year at Christmas.
I hope our listeners enjoyed hearing Marsha's suggestions. Some folks might want to take her up on her offer of a free 30-minute consultation.
Yes, that's extremely generous of her. Finding ways to cope with stress during the holidays definitely improves health and fitness.
So Since it's turning into holiday time and end of year, I just want to point out that it's been 1 year, it will be 1 year of podcasting, and we are working on next year's schedule. So if you're listening and there's something you would like to hear on the Becoming Elli podcast, or if there's someone you would recommend we interview, please let us know that. Feel free to let us know which episodes you've enjoyed this year and if there's something in particular you would like to hear next year.
Yes, that'd be great. And, I wanted to take this opportunity to give a shout out to all those podcasters that we met in Pittsburgh during a recent meetup. It was great to find other women over 50 who are also podcasting, and we're looking forward to staying in touch.
I'm Jill. Don't forget to join the Becoming Elli Facebook group and subscribe to our podcast. Subscribing makes sure you know when our next episode comes out.
I'm Chris. Please join us next time for the Fit Women Over 50 podcast for the Becoming Elli community.